Coming up today, South Korea's presidential office convenes an emergency meeting in response to North Korea's recent test firing of a submarine-launched ballistic missile. Lawmakers are set to pass a slew of long-pending bills today, including one that will speed up the tax rebate process. However, the rival parties remain in a deadlock over how to reform the pension system for civil servants. Plus, optimism is growing that the Korean economy is gradually on the path to recovery, with a series of economic indicators improving last month. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Tuesday, the 12th of May. You're tuned into our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thanks, as always, for joining us. I'm Mark Broome. And we start with the suspicions and tensions that continue to mount over North Korea's recent experimental firing of a submarine-launched ballistic missile. In an indication of how seriously South Korea is taking the development, the presidential office of Cheongwade has just convened an emergency meeting. For more, we connect to Na Hyung-kyung, standing by on the line for us. Hyung-kyung.
Mark, President Park Geunhye is talking with related ministers and officials as we speak. They include Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se, Defense Minister Han Min-go, and the President's Chief of Staff Lee Byung-gi. Now, the meeting started about half an hour ago, right after the regular cabinet meeting. We don't have any specific details yet, but Cheongwade's spokesperson Min Kyung-wook did say earlier that the president will check on security issues related to North Korea's recent test firing. Now, this, of course, following Pyongyang's claim over the weekend that it has successfully test-fired a submarine-launched ballistic missile. South Korea's defense ministry said yesterday that the development was serious and worrying. Mark?
So, Hyung-kyung, you say the word claim there. So we don't yet know if the North was actually successful in test firing this SLBM.
Well, we can't really be sure of anything when it comes to North Korea, can we? South Korea's defense ministry did say, though, the photo released this past Saturday by North Korea was genuine, though it did add the projectile seemed to be a dummy Soviet-era projectile. Citing a U.S. defense official, the AFP reported that it was not a ballistic missile. The official said Pyongyang is still a long way from developing a fully operational SLBM, adding that there was no imminent threat coming from North Korea at this point. Now, this depends on how you define a long way, but this is quite different to what an unnamed South Korean defense official said yesterday. The South Korean official said Pyongyang could be just 2 to 3 years away from equipping its 2,000-ton Shinpo-class submarine with SLBMs. Mark?
And we also hear that the chairman of South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff met with the commander of U.S. forces Korea to discuss this very issue this Tuesday morning. Any new developments there?
Well, at a regular press briefing this morning, Defense Ministry spokesman Kimoon confirmed that Chairman Choi Yoon-hee and General Curtis Scaparrotti met, but he also made clear that their discussions were confidential. As you can imagine, Mark, reporters here at the Defense Ministry still have many questions over whether South Korea will be able to counter North Korea's SLBM threats. Now, to this speculation, Kim said, so together with Washington's information gathering capability, can and will be able to strike down SLBMs fired from North Korean submarines. Back to you, Mark.
Now, President Park Geunhye says the most urgent task at hand is for the National Assembly to approve reforms to the public employee pension system during this month's extraordinary session. At a cabinet meeting, she compared the deficit-ridden pension system to a time bomb that will eventually explode and wreak havoc on taxpayers if the reforms are delayed and continue to increase the financial burden on the public. President Park then reiterated her opposition to linking the national pension system to the public pension reform, saying more time is needed to discuss the effects of increasing the coverage to 50% of a subscriber's average income. After failing to pass the civil servant pension reform bill last week, the ruling and opposition parties have continued to lock horns over the national pension issue. Rival party lawmakers here in Korea are set to pass a series of pending bills on this Tuesday. The floor leader of the ruling Saenuri party, Yoo Seung-min, and his opposition party counterpart agreed on Sunday to pass a revision to the income tax law that would allow taxpayers to receive tax rebates owed to them by the end of this month. The bill had been delayed due to a deadlock over another bill to reform the pension program for public servants. Lawmakers will also vote on a bill to subsidize a free childcare program. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is coming to Korea next week. The U.S. State Department confirmed Kerry will make a two-day trip to Seoul from this Sunday. He will meet with President Park Geunhye and Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se to discuss a wide range of bilateral issues, including matters of regional security. North Korea has been lauding its closer ties with Russia, dismissing concerns of a possible feud between the two countries after Kim Jong-un failed to show up for Moscow's War Victory event last weekend. The North state-run Korean Central News Agency reported on Monday that its ceremonial head of state, Kim Young-nam, who attended the event on behalf of the young leader Kim, met with Russian President Vladimir Putin last Friday. It's said that during the meeting, the envoy delivered a handwritten letter from Kim Jong-un to Putin. The report added that Kim Young-nam and Putin exchanged views on boosting bilateral relations, which the North said are entering a new stage in various fields as well, including politics, economy and culture. The North Korean official, however, is said to have only exchanged passing words with other international leaders, including UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon and Chinese President Xi Jinping. And UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon will visit South Korea next week for the World Economic Forum. According to Seoul's Foreign Ministry, Ban will arrive on Monday afternoon and attend the UN event on Tuesday. There, he will hold a joint press conference with UNESCO Secretary-General Irina Bokova. During his five-day stay here in Korea, the UN chief will meet with President Park Geunhye next Wednesday. He'll also hold talks with Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se. They are going to discuss issues ranging from Korea-UN relations, climate change, and the state of security on the Korean Peninsula. Now, the UN chief will also visit Vietnam, Ireland, and Belgium before returning to New York. Now, on the domestic economic front, and Korea hasn't had too much to get excited about in recent years, but the buds of a slow recovery may be sprouting now. In its monthly assessment of the domestic economy, the Finance Ministry said key economic indicators like consumption and output picked up in April. Kim Min-ji reports.
The signals are weak, but showing signs of recovery. That's the Finance Ministry's diagnosis of the Korean economy. In its monthly Green Book report released on Tuesday, the ministry said the pace of increase in employment has slowed and consumer prices are down due to low global oil prices, but economic indicators such as industrial output, consumption, and construction investment are steadily improving. The report shows private consumption edged up 0.6% in the first quarter of this year from the previous quarter, while it rose 1.5% from a year earlier. Department store sales rose 1.5% in April, while credit card transactions jumped over 15%. Sales of domestically produced vehicles saw a nearly 3% rise last month from a year ago, while gasoline sales also jumped around 9%. The real estate market is also showing signs of improvement, with the number of house sales up nearly 30% to top 120,000 in April from the same month last year. The report, however, pointed to the weak Japanese currency and delays in the recovery of major economies as external factors that could weigh on the economy moving forward. The ministry says it will make all-out efforts to minimize external shocks and stabilize the market. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Just over 1 month remains until the Korean government completes its launch of 17 innovation centres across the country as part of its plans to establish a nationwide chain of startup support centres. For a look inside a centre that has recently opened and their current state of operations, our Song Ji-son reports.
Open to any individual or company wanting to start a business, with one-on-one mentoring services and customized support from legal advice to patent sharing. These are just some of the benefits available at Korea Center for Creative Economy and Innovation. With the latest edition of the Gangwon-do Center this week, 10 innovation centers are now up and running, and 7 more are slated to launch by the end of June. Like this center in Korea's IT and online games capital, Pangyo, also known as Techno Valley, all innovation centers are established in areas that can maximize synergy for a designated industry by connecting startups to large companies that can lend them a helping hand. This startup with just 9 employees was given office space here rent-free for 6 months. The team has created an award-winning smartphone app that converts any non-touch display into a temporary touchscreen by matching infrared ray points with a special touch pen.
We wanted to make a ubiquitous classroom or meeting rooms anywhere by utilizing smart devices that almost everyone has these days. Instead of equipping offices with expensive projectors and large instruments, our app enables up to 30 people to simultaneously write and share this blackboard online.
Startups that are still in the product development stage can also test their products at these state-of-the-art labs free of charge. It's a win-win situation for all involved, including the large companies operating the centers.
The big firms link startups to their large pre-established networks. But these companies also benefit by collaborating with startups, as they can enhance their supply chain by outsourcing some of their business to smaller firms.
These startups can also expand overseas through networks set up with foreign accelerators and Korea Innovation Center branches abroad. Song Ji-son, Arirang News.
Illegal drug residue has been detected in sewage water here in Korea for the first time. A research team from Busan National University reported Tuesday that residue from methamphetamine, amphetamine and codeine was found in 90% of wastewater samples from the southern province of Gyeongsangnam-do. The team collaborated with the University of Queensland to measure community drug consumption based on wastewater analysis. They studied samples from sewage treatment plants in cities including Busan and Ulsan for about a week, this back in late 2012. According to their research, Koreans consumed over 400 kilograms of meth each year, and that's almost 20 times more than the 21 kilograms of the drug that was seized by Korea's customs officials in 2012. Korea's largest international food exhibition kicked off a 4-day run on Tuesday in the city of Goyang, just north of Seoul. The annual event, now in its 33rd year, features over 1,300 companies from 44 countries exhibiting their products in 2,900 booths. Visitors are invited to check out the latest trends in the global and domestic food industry, including food trucks, which are allowed in Korea this year after a regulation on the trucks was lifted. Last year, contracts worth roughly $60 million were struck at the expo. Now, with drones becoming more and more advanced, so is the technology to control them. A group of researchers from Korea have developed a way to operate unmanned drones by simply touching your clothes. Our Son Jung-in has more.
A robot spider crawls across the room, but is not operated by a joystick. Instead, the controller simply presses a device on the cuff of his clothing to move the robot in the direction he wants. And this unmanned aerial drone, it starts to fly at the command of a man touching his fingers while wearing some special gloves. The secret is in a smart fiber sensor that allows the users to control the devices through the amount of pressure they apply.
We attached the pressure sensor onto the fingertips of gloves and programmed it so that when pressure is applied, the user can control the robot's movement wirelessly.
The smart fiber sensor thread, which is coated with nanoparticles, looks no different from regular thread. This means it can be attached to virtually any type of clothing.
The thread we made can be used as a wire and as a sensor. Its thinness and versatility means it can perform a number of functions when attached to regular clothing or gloves.
The research team is in the process of filing for domestic and overseas patents. It plans to commercialize the touch-activated technology within 3 years. 손정인, Arirang News.
Heavy rain and strong winds brought on by Typhoon Naul affected Korea's southern regions overnight, especially Jeju Island. More than 130 flights going in and out of Jeju International Airport have been cancelled since late Monday. Dozens of accidents and flooding have been reported across the island, but fortunately no one has been seriously hurt. According to local authorities, some 20 houses were flooded and 2 people had to be pulled out of a swollen river. A 9-ton boat anchored at Sogwipo port also capsized due to high waves and strong winds. A heavy rain alert has now been lifted, but strong winds are expected throughout the country through Wednesday. That's all we have for now. I'm Mark Broome. Have a great day and thank you for watching, and we do hope to see you at the same time tomorrow. Goodbye.